I am not supposed to root, but I live in Los Angeles. I know people who work for the Clippers. And Kawhi Leonard now will interview with the Lakers as well as the Clippers and the Raptors. This, of course, is the Clippers' worst nightmare. The Clippers all year have done everything right. It was the most overachieving team in the league. The front office, you got Ballmer, the energetic, semi-young owner, very pro player. You got Jerry West, the logo, the icon. Michael Winger, Lawrence Franks, smart young analytic guys. Everybody gets along in the organization. The players are, you got your Lou Williams, your old guys. Everybody likes the players. You had the best bench in the NBA. You overachieved, beat the Warriors twice when they were healthy. They've done everything right. The Lakers, meanwhile, have been an utter tire fire for a year. And the Lakers now will get an interview with Kawhi Leonard. It's the power of the big brand, but it would be an absolute gut punch for the Clipper franchise. It would be a gut punch. They have done everything right. Recruiting him for a year. They went to his games in Toronto, making sure he could spot them. You know what this is? This is potentially the Ray Allen shot of free agency. Remember that?
James catches, puts up a three. Won't go. Rebound, Bosch. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining.
The Spurs led the series 3-2. Champagne was on ice. Security had the ropes out. Goggles were ready. Spurs led by 5 with 20 seconds left. They had been the better team in the series. The trophy was in the building, and Ray Allen hits a three. Pump the brakes. We're going to overtime. Miami rebounds and wins the series. San Antonio never recovered from that shot. They never recovered. I don't know how the Clippers recover. Somebody joked yesterday on Twitter, maybe Steve Ballmer just goes and takes the franchise back to Seattle. Never forget this. With the Red Sox lost to the Mets, remember the Bill Buckner era, the late Bill Buckner, 86. Red Sox didn't recover for 20 years. The next year, the Red Sox were below 500. They emotionally could not recover from that moment. The Spurs could not emotionally recover from that moment. I think this would be such an awful, emotional kick to the you-know-whats. And I'll tell you about Kawhi Leonard. I want you to think about this for a second. He is the most unique player in my life. Think about this. If Kawhi chose the Lakers over the Raptors and the Clippers, he would have destroyed, in his career, the Spurs dynasty by leaving, the Heat dynasty, 4th year, became the MVP, the Warriors dynasty this year, the Raptors' future, and the Clippers' soul. He's the Thanos of the NBA. He literally is. He would have just crushed all these teams. The Clippers' soul, the Warriors dynasty, the Raptors' future, Popovich's 20-year run, and the Miami guys dynasty.
Yeah, and Thanos didn't have a whole lot to say either, so they've got a lot in common.
He spoke volumes in very few words. I would ideally, living in Los Angeles and knowing people in both organizations, I would like to see the Clippers get Kawhi and the Lakers do the LeBron, AD, Kuzma collection of cool veterans, a Raptor feel to it where they got a lot of Lowrys and Serge Ibaka's. Oh, I can't imagine how devastating this would be. How devastating it would be if Kawhi chose the Lakers. Joy Taylor with the news.
No.
Turn on the news.
This is the Herdline News.
I almost don't want to talk about it too much and just stay with the Raptors. It's the best choice for everyone. All right. Well, Kevin Durant is apparently no longer the most hated player in the NBA. If Kawhi does this, he might take over that spot. Sports Insider did an analysis of geotagged tweets, and LeBron James is back on top as the number 1 hated player on social media. He swept 25 states, including California, and the rest of the West Coast. Durant took 17 states, including Nevada and Hawaii. We've got a little Kyrie there. Obviously, the Boston fans not too happy with his exits. Anthony Davis took 2 states, Pelicans territory, Louisiana and Arkansas, and James Harden slipped a little hate from Utah in there. So,
wow,
it's interesting, right?
But
it's not surprising because
it's just even in our business, all the hated people, you hate what you fear. Nobody hates the irrelevant morning disc jockey. They hated Howard Stern because he was taking away economy from people.
Well, I don't think that they necessarily hate LeBron. Like all those states, LeBron has obviously had a reign over the NBA for a long time. I think Durant obviously is the Golden State move. That makes sense because Durant hasn't really dominated anyone other than his time in Golden State. So it's just the move there.
Nobody fears Kevin Durant.
Right. It's more just his move to play with a dynasty. LeBron is understandable, but it's also just greatness. They're discussable and they're polarizing players. Kyrie makes sense. James Harden makes sense. But the fact that the 2 top players in the NBA are the most discussed and most hated, and we know how the hate goes. It's really like, they're going to talk all this trash about LeBron. And if you saw him in person, it would be fanboy all day.
It's a badge of honor.
Yeah, no, it is. It is something to be proud of. If you're being discussed, that's a good thing.
And you're feared.
And you're feared, yes, at least in LeBron's case. So, speaking of Kevin Durant, re-signing Durant and Klay Thompson in free agency this summer would make Golden State the most expensive team in NBA history. But according to an ESPN report, that is the Warriors' goal. By the time free agency opens Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, the Warriors will have offered both Thompson and Durant full 5-year max contracts. For Durant, that means $221 million, and for Klay, $190 million. Even with that reality, KD might miss all of next season recovering from a torn Achilles, and Klay might miss the bulk of it coming back from an ACL tear. That remains the Warriors' first choice. Klay, I saw a report today, might not be back until February or March. So they're basically offering 5-year maxes to 2 players that won't really be playing this season.
That's what I would do. And then eventually I'd move off Draymond because Kevon Looney will be my next big.
Right. So they also want to retain Kevon Looney, as that's a priority for them as well. So their payroll this upcoming season could balloon to more than $375 million. That includes more than $200 million in luxury taxes. But they have the Chase Center opening later this year in San Francisco. That's estimated to generate $200 million in revenue there. And in the past 2 years, the Warriors have passed the Knicks and Lakers as highest earning team in the NBA, eclipsing the $400 million mark in annual revenue. So they feel like it's worth it. I would agree. You have to spend money to make money, and you got to keep Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant.
It goes back to what Jerry Jones, owner of the Cowboys, he said this about a year ago. I think, we were working together, and Jerry said, when I go back and look at my life, I've never regretted overspending for the best. What I've regretted is trying to save money, and then years later I look back and think, what was I doing? Like, Kevin Durant's great. By the way, remember, Brady missed a year. Michael Jordan missed a year. John Stockton. We've had great players disappear for a year. Michael Jordan left for a couple and came back. So Kevin Durant is still a top 5 player. I don't know if he'll be ever quite what he was, but remember, his game is shooting. He could do that till he's 40.
Generally, we know how Achilles injuries goes. I don't fear that with Kevin Durant. Maybe it's just his body type. I feel like he's young enough. It's a hard injury to come back from, as we all know, but I don't really have that anxiety with him.
I'm the same way.
He'll be okay. But it's interesting that Jerry Jones is doing that, and he's stalling on trying to get Dak's contract done.
Yeah, that tells you what he thinks truthfully about that.
Right. So finally, the Lakers did it. They now have space for a potential max-level free agent. They've stripped away every player from the roster who they do not view as central to the next championship push. The question is, who do they view as targets this summer? According to Mark Stein of the New York Times, Kyrie Irving remains just as much of a target for the Lakers as Kawhi Leonard. League sources say now that the Lakers are sure that they can open a maximum cap space, they are swinging for the fences despite all the signals that have pointed Kyrie Irving to Brooklyn.
I don't think it's going to happen. I do. This is the only thing I've been told that I trust from 2 NBA players, that Kyrie is very strongly in the Brooklyn camp.
I don't see Kyrie rejoining LeBron. There would be there's no way there wouldn't be some backlash of him going to Boston. It not really necessarily being a failure, but not working out. And then he comes